Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's Friday afternoon. Happy Friday. And it's 4 p.m. in the Eastern time zone. It's time for the weekend special here at K3LR. It's also 20 Zulu, so the sun has set in Europe, and we're off to the races, so they say. So hope everybody is having a good week and is getting ready for the holiday here in the U.S. And there's lots of activities on the air. European Field Day is on phone this weekend. Also, the All Asian Phone Contest. CW Ops is having a big event. It's the CW Ops Open. And then also there is the Colorado QSO Party. So there are lots of activities. And if you want to see all the activities, you just go to WA7BNM, WA7 Bravo Norway Mike. He's got a great contest calendar, and you can get up to speed. Today, I want to show you some things that we've been doing here with the amazing antenna analyzer, the AA230. This is one of the best pieces of test equipment that I have here at K3LR, and I use it all the time. And so I want to show you a couple of things on how I tested the new Yagis that we put up here. And so this, of course, is on the shack end, and I'll describe the stacking box in a minute. But here are the 4 rotators. This is a 4-high stack of 10-meter Yagis. So each one of these is an 8-element Yagi. And of course, this is the azimuth of each one of them: 135, over 100 feet, over 66 feet, over 33 feet. And so there are the 4, and they're independently rotatable, and they're all basically aimed at 45 degrees. When I'm doing my notebook tests, I always aim the antennas all at 45 degrees. That's the way it's repeatable time after time. And I never have to remember which direction were they. It's always at 45 degrees. And so we want to say hello to Jeff, KB8ZWT. I worked him on his IC7200 this morning. And also to Dino there. Happy Friday. 160-meter season is getting started with an opening to Europe last evening. So great to hear that, Dino, KL0S. And Papa Uniform 2, Mike, and Andy, 2 Echo 0 Radio Echo from England. And our friend Bud Plants, N3TIR. And we got November Lima 7 Delta in Tucson. And Whiskey 4 November Golf United in South Carolina. And our friend Mike, KE3 Juliet Papa. And Michael, W3MLJ from Pittsburgh. So we're going to take a look. Here's the antenna switch box. And of course, you can see what antennas I have online up here on the heads-up display that is on the watt meter. Here, let me move that a little bit. You can see right now we're just feeding the 135-foot high antenna. That's the one that's lit up on the switch box. And so let's turn on the analyzer. Okay. And we're going to go to the SWR chart. SWR chart, and I'll bring this over so you can see it. SWR chart, that's what we're going to select. Okay. And so what we have here is we've got it so that the we're going to sweep. This is 28,500 is the middle, and we're going to sweep 500 kilohertz on either side. So this will go from 28 to 29. So 1 megahertz is going to be swept here. And so let's start the sweep. And there you can see the SWR. And the minimum SWR so far is 1.1 at 28.12. Oh, there, it's even better. 1.03 at 28.88. But you can see the SWR is very low across the entire band. But that's just for the top antenna. How about the 100-footer down? So now what we've got, you can see on the heads-up display, we're just feeding the 100-foot antenna. And so now let's do another sweep and see how that compares to the one at 135 feet. And you can see it's a little different. Gets a little bit higher, and this is due to effects from the tower. So that's 1.07 to 1 is the minimum at 28,230. How about the 66 footer? You can see now that the 66 is on, and let's take a look at that. And pretty similar. You can see it's tracking about the same. And then here's the bottom one, the 33 footer, and we're now sweeping that. Looking good. So all these antennas are sweeping very nicely, and the SWR is very well controlled. The configuration that we run in on this station, this is a 10-meter run station, is feeding all 4 antennas most of the time. And that's what we're doing now. You see all 4 lights here are lit, and you can see that this is very well behaved, feeding all 4 antennas at once. And then let's take a look at a 3 combination. This is the top 3 antennas. So you can see on the heads up display, the top 3 LEDs are lit, and that's very well behaved. Nice low SWR across. And then if we were to do the middle 2, here's just the center 2, the 100 footer over the 66 footer. Here's what the SWR looks like. So we have fed 4 different combinations of antennas: single, all 4, 3, and 2. And there are 10 combinations available, but we're not going to take a look at all of them. One of the other things that I like about this is here's another mode that I like. Let's shift this down, exit out of this, and let's go to the SWR meter. That's a really good gut check. So right now, this is at 28,500, and so I can go through all the combinations of antennas and just take a look at a single frequency like 28,500, and I can, this is the top antenna, this is the 100 footer, now this is the 66 footer, and then the 33 footer, and you can see how well matched they are. This is feeding all 4. This is the top 3, the bottom 3, the top 2, the middle 2, and the bottom 2. So very quickly, just with that SWR meter, you can get a good picture of how things are working. So let's, who else do we have on here today with us? Want to give some shout outs, and then we're going to get into the business end of this thing. Let's see here. We got Kilo Echo 8 Charlie Victor Alpha, Terry, and Kilo Papa 3 Charlie Radio, and Victor Echo 6 Alpha Mike Radio from Calgary. And Jamie Lee, thank you very much. And November 3 Hotel Queen Bravo, and Papa 5 Radio Tango from Brazil, G4 OMG from the United Kingdom, and Oscar Hotel 1 Echo Oscar Radio, and November 8 Uniform Sierra Yankee, and our friend from Sicily, India Tango 9, India Delta Golf. And let's see, we also have Papa Uniform 1 Mike Papa Juliet, and Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Mike India. And what you prepare a good antenna for the ICOM 7300? A dipole, just a plain dipole is really, really good. And let's see, who else do we have on here? We have, let's see, Dino says new higher end rig expert analyzers are available now. Great company with great company support. Yes, they are, the Sticks. And we'll try to have one of those on one of these Fridays. Kilo 2 Charlie Sierra X-Ray, Kilo 8 Charlie Victor Mike, and Angel, Whiskey Papa 3 Radio. Nice to have you on from the Big Ear at Arecibo, November Echo 3 Fox. And Gary asked, what is the beam width of an 8-element Yagi? Are they wide enough to cover the European population centers? And they are. They're not so narrow that you got to move from North Europe to South Europe. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I have researched that, and they develop just enough gain to cover the entire European footprint. Sugar Echo 3 X-ray, speaking of being up in northern Europe, and what you recommend for 7300 antenna? Ricky, I recommend you start with a dipole. That's a good way to start. And let's see. Jamie Lee says, I'm thankful you share these videos. I'm learning a lot. Can you send me a catalog? Yes, Jamie, we can. If you give me your call sign, we'll look you up in QRZ and we'll get you a catalog. And K5 Tango Golf Sierra, Victor Kilo 3 Echo Whiskey, and Juma is on. And WD8 November, Victor November. He loves his Rig Expert. And Lauren says, I have a Rig Expert. It's not cheap, but man, is it a game changer in tuning an antenna. And yes, it is a game changer. An Alpha 75 Golf Mike, and Philip, Delta Kilo 6 Sierra Papa, and Alpha 4 Hotel Victor, and our friend KB3YRU Eddie from the 75 meter nets. And let's see, we have Gus, November 6th Uniform Queen. And Lauren says, I have an MFJ Cobweb, and it does much better than I expected, but doesn't take up nearly as much room as stringing up a dipole. And yes, that is true. That Cobweb does work. I have used one, and I was surprised how well it works. And Kilo 8 Echo 8 Oscar Zulu Juliet. And Ricky says, what brand of dipole? You take a look at the Alpha Delta dipoles. They're really good. So let's go to the oh, there's our friend WA3 Golf Bravo United. Oh, it's K5TM. Nice to see you, Tom. And also Andy, give me your call sign and we will get you a catalog as well. And Bud says, have you noticed different strengths from individual antennas on a given station? And yes, depending upon where the station is, we noticed sometimes drastic differences in the various heights. So let's go to our first slide here today and start talking about how this stuff all gets matched together. How do you put 4 antennas together and feed them? So when we're feeding one antenna, the antenna combination is just 50 ohms. From the OWA antenna, you get a 50 ohm output. And so when we're feeding one, it's 50 ohms. When we feed 2 antennas, we're putting them in parallel, and it's now 25 ohms. And so we have to match that back to 50 ohms. That's the only way we're going to be able to keep the SWR down. Otherwise, we would have a 2-to-1 VSWR, and we don't want that. We have 3 antennas in parallel, so if we're feeding like the top 3 or the bottom 3, that's 16.67 ohms that somehow we got to match back to 50. And when we feed all 4 antennas and deliver 25% of the power into each antenna, that's 12.5 ohms. So all these present challenges, 2, 3, and 4, for getting it back to 50 ohms so that the amplifier is happy. So let's go to the second slide. All right, so here's how we're going to do it. When we just have a 50 ohm antenna, we're just going to put it through a quarter wave of 50 ohm cable. That's RG213. The final VSWR will be 1-to-1, assuming that the antenna is at 50 ohms. Why do we do this? I want to make sure that the line length between the amplifier and the antenna system never changes. That way, it doesn't move around the Smith chart and the amplifier is happy. So we feed through a quarter wavelength of 50 ohm cable when one antenna is used. When we have 2 antennas being driven, when we turn 2 of them on, put them in parallel, that's a 25 ohm junction feed point. To get it to 50 ohms, or pretty close, we put in a quarter wavelength of 35 ohm cable. That's also known as RG83. That takes it up to 49 ohms. Assuming you got 2 50 ohm antennas, the SWR is 1.02 to 1. When you feed 3 of these Yagis, that's 16.67 ohms at that junction. by using a parallel combination of RG213 and RG11, so that's 50 ohm cable and 75 ohm cable, the matching section becomes 30 ohms, and that gets you up to 54 ohms. So you're putting these matching sections in series with the junction before it goes into the hard line, and that would give you a 1.08 to 1 VSWR, assuming that all the antennas are 50 ohms. And then finally, when driving 4 antennas, the junction is 12.5 ohms, so you need a 25 ohm section of matching, that's a quarter wavelength, of RG213 in parallel with RG213, and that gets you right back up to 50 ohms and a perfect 1.0 SWR, assuming all 4 impedances are sitting at 50 ohms. So let's go to the next image. Here's the schematic of the beast. This is the Monostacker 4. Monostacker 4 was designed by myself. Also, K3LR had his design cap on and simplified this. And then also Greg, W8WWV, did this final schematic. And it's beautiful. On the left side, you can see the top antenna, and then there's the 4 ports for the 4 antennas coming in. And when they're not being used, they are actually turned off and shorted to ground. And so, but there's an odd multiple of wavelengths feeding that Yagi. So a short at the monostacker gives you an open up at the feed point. And then in the middle of this is where all the matching sections are done. And there's the 4 pieces of coax, 2 of them 50 ohm, 175 and 135. So with the relays, we can move the right matching section depending upon which antennas are in the circuit. Let's go to the next image. And so here is the underside of the monostacker, showing the SO239 connectors. And you can see where the top antenna starts at the left side and then goes across to the bottom. And then there's the 50, the 75, the 35, and the 50. And then the lone connector at the bottom is what goes down to the transmitter. Next slide. And here is a monostacker mounted on the tower. This happens to be the one for 40 meters. You can see Interstate 80 there in the background, but the trailer connectors on the control cables make it nice and easy to be able to disconnect this in the event that we have to do some service work. So that gives you the idea, and I'll show it. I've got a monostacker here in the shack, and I'll show that to you now. So here's the monostacker, and it's in a Comtech box. And notice that there's the SS30 on here. The SS30 is the antioxidant, and we use that on all the mechanical connections. We had a customer ask us about using SS30 on coax connectors. Bad idea. Bad idea. It is not meant to be put on the threads of coax connectors. What happens is you'll get this orange stuff all over your shack, all over your hair, all over your clothes, on your cat, your dog, everything. So here's the monostacker. This one was set up for 20 meters. I guess we can turn it around so you can see the numbers better. But this is it. And then here's the business end of it. Here's a close-up of all the relays on the printed circuit board. So you get a really good idea of how nicely this is done. And everything is kept short so that we have great connections. And that's how we get 10 combinations of antennas here at K3LR using the monostacker. So let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see, do we have any more comments or questions? And 2 Echo 0 radio Echo Echo needs a catalog. Okay, great. And Mike KE3JP says, I love the rig expert I got from you. And Ricky, what kind, the 40, 20, 40, or 80 Alpha Delta? Pick a band, man. Pick a band and have a great time. Yeah, that'll get you started. And thanks very much, Greg. November Charlie 7 Bravo. And I've been just getting a lot of emails about this stacking. And, you know, there isn't a lot about it on the internet. You really got to dig. And I've been working on stacking antennas for lots of years here at K3LR. Almost every band we have something stacked. Even on 80, we're stacking 4 squares. So, you know, I've spent a lot of time researching it and asking questions of others. And that's how, you know, I've arrived at some of these projects that we do, and a lot of great people help me. W8WWV, W3LPL, K3LC, and W3YQ all have been big helps. John says, my lifelong antenna passions are being lived vicariously through K3LR. Thanks for sharing and making us part of the ride. From Kilo Bravo 3 Hotel. Well, John, thanks very much. I enjoy talking about this stuff. It's the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about at night. And I've been very fortunate to be able to build this radio station and have you know, a great time doing it. And now that we're staying home to stay safe, that's what we're doing. And so you know, Ricky, I suggest you call in to our 800 number, and we'll give you some more advice. Yeah, just call in or email us, and we will ask you some questions and help you select the right antenna so that you get set up with your IC 7300, Ricky. And let's see, Ray says, love my Wolf Wave, Kilo Fox 5 Bravo Charlie November. And let's see, Dino says, can you do a segment about the different lubricants and protection materials like SS30, no locks, etc.? And I can, but most of it is around SS30 because I use the SS30 for all the aluminum junctions, and then use the SS30 as an anti-seize, and no locks, no more. I took apart some of those antennas that we took down that had penetrox and no locks in them, and it was nothing but dust, and the aluminum had deteriorated. So bye-bye. You take apart an antenna with SS30 and it's perfect. It looks, you know, 25 years later, it looks like the day you built it. So SS30 is the way to go, but don't put it in your coax connectors. It's not meant to go in there. And Dirk says, I use your EC PS2 stack match on my 2-element 40-meter vertical array. Works great. That's super, Dirk. I'm glad to hear that. And that's another one of our what's a few more minutes having fun stacking antennas. So tune in next week. We'll be on Tuesday with Tuesdays with Tim and Jeff. That's on at 17:15 Zulu. That's 1:15 Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. And then also on Thursday, we'll have the Manufacturer Showcase, and that's on at 18:30 Zulu. And we'll have BHI on from England. They will be on live with us, and so that'll be a good time. BHI on from England on Thursday, and then we'll be back here for the weekend special next Friday. So until then, I hope to hear you on the air. Get on the air, have some fun, and thanks very much for all your support here at DX Engineering. If you have a question or something that you'd like to know about ham radio, give us a call, send us an email. So 73, and see you on the air.